Hi. All right. It looks like I've gone live. Welcome to my 30 lives in 30 days, and this is day 4. Today I have already washed my face, and so I have no makeup on, and I'm going live, and I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to be, again, listening to my intuition and taking this challenge on that was downloaded to me through Source. And so here I am. And I hope everybody is having a good week. Here in Florida, it's been really interesting the way the energy is. It's been rainy, like up north. I grew up in New Jersey, and so this type of weather, having gray days on end, was not unusual and was one of the reasons that I didn't feel that I can live there as an adult. And and it's okay here, it's not going to last very long, but there's definitely a lot of slowing down. Last night in Reiki Crystal meditation, everybody's energy in class was kind of like slow and introspective, and I've been feeling the same way. And it's been, in a way, kind of nice, like in a cozy way. Right now I'm on the couch, I'm wrapped up in a blanket, and just feeling into the energy. I have my candle lit on the side, and I was just sitting in prayer before going live and just asking what would be the highest and best to talk about tonight. And a few different things came through. But the first one was, so I've mentioned in the other 3 videos that in a very transitional type of time. I'm going through some things, not bad things, just really looking at things in a different way. I think I'm coming out of a cocooning phase, and so when the caterpillar goes into the cocoon and before it gets out, it turns to like gel, and when it comes out, it's still wet, and so it takes a little bit for the wings to dry before it can start to spread its wings and fly. And I feel like I'm coming out of the cocoon stage and I'm still wet. And, my life has still been moving forward and still been doing things in life. And I'm coming at things in from a different perspective. And to be quite honest, I do think that I've been still integrating from some ceremonies that I was in last year. And sometimes these ceremonies do take a lot of time to integrate, especially when some intense things happen and very deep. It can take some time. And so, and a lot of times you'll hear people do ceremony after ceremony after ceremony. And I've always been a sensitive person to anything, and so I haven't been a big proponent of doing anything like that a lot. And a lot of times what comes up actually does take a lot of time for integration. And for those of you that don't know what I mean by integration, I mean where you're absorbing energetically and mentally and emotionally and spiritually any new awarenesses that came through, or even just letting go and just kind of letting your cells realign to a new space. So with the essence of changing and realigning, I've been doing a lot of thinking and bringing a lot of awareness to how I've done things over time and how I would like to continue some of those things and perhaps shift some of those things. And as I mentioned in the first video, I'm even looking at my whole mission, and I'm in a place of just kind of looking at things. And but as a small little example this week that I think could support anyone watching this video is how can you do things differently, right? So we don't have to change our whole lives around to just do things differently. I'm just going to take a little sip of my tea. Well, on Monday, that's before all the rain happened, I was invited to go paddleboarding with a few beautiful beings. And in the past, I would have been like, Monday, like, why not Saturday, Sunday? Monday, I need to be working. And I normally do. And I was teaching that night, so I was working. But what I realized about myself, and this is not the first time I realized that, but I spent the first 20 years or so of my working life in corporate America. I was a graphic designer, and then a senior graphic designer, then an art director. And so I was well programmed to be, to work from 9 to 5 or 8 to 5:30 or whatever the hours were, depending on what company I was at. And so later, as I've been coaching as my business and teaching and doing healing sessions, obviously my work is different. My work can be starting at 7:30 at night, or it could be during lunch hour. It could be any time. And so what I've realized is that if I am not like doing work between like 8 and 5 or 9 and 5, I feel like I'm doing something wrong. I feel like I'm doing something bad. It's like an old program. And so number one, I had been wanting to go paddleboarding or kayaking for a while. I was trying to get people together on Memorial Day weekend. That didn't work out. And so when I got invited to go with these beautiful people, I decided to say yes. And notice where I started to feel like, oh my God, should I be doing this? I feel like I'm playing hooky, doing something wrong. And it took me a little bit to move through that. And so what I did was I noticed it, and I started to notice the messages that I was giving to myself mentally. And I noticed it first in my body. I noticed that there was a tension in my body and a feeling of unease. And so once I realized that I was feeling uneasy, that's when I went inside to notice, like what I would say to a client, what are you thinking right now? What are the thoughts going through your head right now? Because your thoughts create your feeling, your physical feelings, and your physical feelings could actually also create your thoughts. It can start either way. And so I realized that I was starting to feel like funny that I wasn't doing work and on a Monday. And so once I saw that, I was able to give myself a lot of compassion and love, and know that I also worked Saturday and I also did some work Sunday, and I'll also be doing work that night, and I haven't, maybe I hadn't even taken a full day off, so it's okay if I took a few hours on a Monday to go play. And to be quite honest, being a teacher in this realm, or even doing healing work, play is actually a part of the work, because it's up to me to raise my frequency and my vibration. Those of you that followed me for the Love Frequency Summit last year, that was my free online event. I had 11 speakers, and it was for 7 days. And each day we talked about a new aspect of raising your frequency to love, and it was amazing. And so that's a part of my practice all the time. And of course, I'm not always perfect. I don't always succeed, but I'm very well aware of where my frequency is. And so once I was able to let that go, gave myself some self-love and just kind of compassion for, like, wow, that's an old program that you used to live in and believe, that you actually don't have to believe that anymore. It's actually not even true. And there was no way I was going to berate myself for it. It was just more like an awareness and sending it some love, and then getting back into the present moment on the water, light shining through, amazing trees. Corey was guiding us through and pointing out all these cool little areas where we can stop and get in the water. And I haven't posted pictures yet. I'll post some pictures so you can see. And it was really awesome. So on top of just being lit up by nature, which always puts me back into balance, it brings me into a state of awe and gratitude. Just the general act of being there on a Monday, I feel, was divinely guided for me to experience. So that, because what about the Mondays where I'm getting creative blocks, where maybe I just need to play at that time? And so just kind of noticing that there's still remnants of old programming saying, well, you're not working, you're playing hooky then, you're doing something bad. And so, but as you start to study spirituality, there is no good, bad, right, or wrong. And the highest thing that I can do is get into alignment with my body and my soul. And so it was a beautiful day. We had an amazing time, and there was healing on so many levels. There was healing with nature. For me, there was healing in changing my old belief about what should be done at what time. But there was also another level of healing, which I haven't even had a chance to say anything to the people that I was with. But there was actually a big group of us going, but part of the group got there earlier and they went, and the rest of us showed up later. We thought that we would meet up with them, which somehow we never crossed paths, even though we were all going in the same direction. You have to turn around and come back. Somehow we never saw each other. And so anyway, it was just us girls on the second part. And there was so much healing as far as sisters supporting sisters. And I don't mean biological sisters. I mean women supporting women. It was such a great way to also break some old patterns, right? So me being there, breaking the rules and going during corporate time, and also changing the pattern of these sister patterns that I have typically seen and other people that I know have typically seen. Last year, when I held my Ignite Radical Radiance group coaching program, that was one of the biggest parts of the program, is to have sisterhood, where people would feel safe to share what they were experiencing, and also for people to celebrate each other and instead of compete. And so I had them break up into buddies, into pairs, so they can support each other. And this paddleboarding trip, it was similar, because we were each kind of supporting each other, we were listening to each other, we were sharing stories, and it was so beautiful in that way. And we don't always see that even in the spiritual world. And I'm going to call this out, that that people might or might not love. So nobody is perfect, and everybody has gone through some sort of trauma in their lives, right? So in my programs, in both the group program and the one-on-one program, we visit trauma head on, right? So the way I am designed in my human design is that one of my strengths is to help people walk into the things that have felt uncomfortable and to be able to heal from it. And learn from it, and instead of shy away from it, instead of spiritually bypassing it. With that being said, knowing that nobody is perfect, no matter how much they study spirituality and personal development, no matter how many ceremonies they've gone to, how many kirtans they go to, how many kriyas they do, how many affirmations they say, you name it, how much breath work they do, how much cacao they drink, how much ecstatic dance they go to. Everybody has gone through some sort of trauma, and so nobody is perfect. What I have noticed is the lack of understanding of trauma in this group, not in this particular group, but in general in the personal development industry, in the community is what I want to say, in the community, so that I've seen sisters not being nice to sisters, and some of them like acting like mean girls. And so in high school, I was not in one clique. I was friends with people in many different cliques. I've always felt trapped if I was to be in one group. And even when I was in a sorority in college, my best friends were not in my sorority. Like I always need variety. And so, and why was I just telling you that? Anyway, let's get back to the changing the pattern. So going in this paddleboarding trip and sitting with these ladies, here's one now. Hi, honey. And one of the healings, which I hadn't had a chance to say yet to the ladies that I was with on the second half of the group of paddleboarding, was this shifting of or healing sister wounding, right? We weren't there with the intention of, let's heal sister wounding. But the fact that we were supporting each other and helping each other out and telling stories about our lives and our perceptions and cheering each other on for the things that are goals for going forward and the things that we've overcome in the past, it was such a healing on top of being out in nature and receiving that healing. It was just beautiful. And the reason why I want to show that as a contrast to, even if you are in the spiritual community, you might still see the opposite of that. And I still see it. And I'd like to bring awareness to it, because who's ever watching this, maybe notice in yourself where perhaps you've acted like the Mean Girls movie. Notice. I'm not going to call anybody out, but notice where maybe you didn't say hi to somebody at a party when they're right in front of you, and you know them, or you're talking to somebody and the other person's right there and you're not looking at them to say hello. Things like that are just not necessary. But on this day, it was so beautiful, and we were texting with the other group, and somehow we never caught up with each other. But it almost later, even though we were kind of bummed that we didn't get to see the other people in the group, there was a wonderful, it almost seemed like a synchronicity, like we were meant to be in this little bubble of healing in this energy vortex that we created. And even if you're not in a spiritual community, you can do this with whatever community that you are active in. Maybe you're a mom and you're in the PTA, or maybe you play tennis and you're with the tennis people. Like, notice where you can bring more loving kindness and awareness to your energy around each other, and where can patterns be broken. And we can bring healing to anything. Even when I was in corporate and I was, if people ask me when my spiritual awakening was, I've had so many that I feel like I've always been there, but things started to open for me big time while I was still in corporate. So there's an overlap at the time. And so I decided that I could not separate my spirituality from my daily life, and I didn't want to. So, and I'll share this with you because if you're in corporate, or if you're a busy mom, or whatever it is that you do all the time, you can bring in spirituality, mindfulness, and awareness to anything that you do, to the most mundane things. I still, to this day, but this started when I was in corporate, that each email that I sent, even before I took Reiki, I would send like a positive vibe or say thank you to the email before hitting send, right? So you can really bring in, you can walk into Publix and call in your intentions and say, my intention is for this to be efficient, quick, and pleasant. And so you can bring intentionality, mindfulness, kindness to the most mundane things, to anywhere that you go. So anyway, so these are ways that you can break the patterns in your life. As I said, I broke a pattern this week with going paddleboarding on a Monday during corporate hours, which felt really good, and breaking patterns with, sharing with sisters, and doing this in a way that was, we were open, we were vulnerable, and each one of us held space for each other, and we also celebrated each other, which was really cool and fun, and we were playful like little kids. And so it was nice because some of the old ways that I've seen connecting could be anywhere from trauma bonding to leaving somebody out to conditional love, and we don't have to live like that anymore, right? We get to bring in all these higher level vibrations in such easy simple ways. And so I guess my invitation tonight is to see what patterns are you looking to break in your life? Like, where can you change things up and feel like you're creating an upgrade in your life, right? And taking radical responsibility for your experience, right? So I teach about radical responsibility in my one-on-one program. And a lot of times, because it's towards the beginning of the program, and a lot of times people are like kind of taken aback at first when I say radical responsibility. But radical responsibility does not mean radical blame, right? So it doesn't mean I'm responsible. It means I'm bad. I did it wrong, and I regret. That's not what I'm talking about. Radical responsibility is taking a look at, we're going to get a little esoteric here for a second, but we are the creators of our lives, right? If you want to learn more about that, listen to Abraham Hicks, watch The Secret, or listen to The Secret. We are the creators of our lives. And one of the biggest, or come to one of my workshops about manifestation. And our thinking helps create our responsibility, our lives. And so that's to me, has been one of the biggest challenges, is to shift where the mind wants to go. Because sometimes the mind could be a very dangerous place to be. And the mind will tell us things that are not true. And it's up to us to interrupt, and break the patterns. It's why doing things differently, like going paddleboarding on a Monday during corporate hours, is a very healthy thing to do. Perhaps you drive to work on a different route, like you click on your maps and find a different route to get there, or to the store, or to the school, and do those little things differently. Brush your teeth with the opposite hand. These things, you can read about, their studies show that this will shift your brain. This will shift things inside of you where it will be easier for you to make change. So radical responsibility, this is the last thing that I'll talk about tonight. It's not about radical blame. It's about, I'm responsible for my life. And before I came down to the earth, I chose to be in this body with this family, meeting these people, dating these people, having these friends, having these experiences so that I can learn and upgrade, right? So, hey, welcome. And so we came in making these choices, and then we kind of forget that we made these choices before, when we come into the world, and here we are just learning the lessons and doing the things. And so with our radical responsibility, the distinction between that and blame is saying, okay, so I called this into my life by way of I'm of the same vibration. Why am I the same vibration as that? And what is it that I can learn or shift, right? So I'll give an example. I have an app on my phone by Melody Beattie. I actually wrote down the name of it in my journal today. Where is it? I can't find it now because it's on a different page. Melody Beattie, Letting Go. Melody Beattie, Letting Go. She wrote a book, and there's an app, so it's the same thing as the book, each page. Anyway, so today it was about relationships, and she didn't use the term radical responsibility, but this will illustrate a really great point. So she's based on the 12-step program, which I'm not in, but I've known people that have been in it, and there's some valuable pieces to it. And so the part that it talked about was relationships. And so it said to make a list of your relationships, right? I think that's how it said it. Yeah, an inventory of your relationships, it said. And then a list of the things that we did wrong, that I did wrong. And so this morning with the rain, and I was feeling kind of gloomy, and some of that dangerous, how the mind could be a very dangerous place to be. So the mind was there this morning, and so I was doing some work around it to bring awareness, to bring compassion and patience, and see what was coming up to be seen, heard, and then let go. And so this exercise of writing an inventory of your relationships and then writing the things that we did wrong, it wasn't for me to blame myself, I ruined that. No, it wasn't about that. It was just that we always play a part in everything that happens in our lives, which is beautiful. And back to talking about my clients, when I bring this up in my one-on-one program, and it's, as I said before, it's at the beginning of the program, and I talk about radical responsibility, and people get taken aback, they think they're being blamed. And no, but what it is, it's actually an opportunity for us to take our power back. Because if I'm responsible for what happens in my life, that means that the choices that I make next will actually shift something in my life, and I have the opportunity to make my life better. And I know sometimes life will come at us in 3s and 5s, and things go, and we don't understand how we're playing a part in it, or we don't know what the solution is. As I talked about in class last night, if you were in my Reiki Crystal Meditation class last night, the Dharma talk part of it, we were talking about uncertainty. And so that can feel really heavy and really scary when we don't know what the solution is, and we're sitting here with this thing that doesn't feel good. So radical responsibility might mean to stop. It might mean to change a pattern that has nothing to do with the thing that you're trying to work out in your head. Hence my Monday paddleboarding during corporate hours, right? Doing something different. having a new dynamic with sisters that, that felt safe and fun and expansive. That's why I love going to circles, right? Because I've had some of my most profound experiences leading circles and sitting in circles. And so this is where we get to share, we get to shift patterns. And when we do that, when we bring awareness to ourselves and how we're bringing ourselves to the table, this is how we take radical responsibility. This is how we make new choices. This is how we become aware and shift our frequency and raise our frequency and make a difference in the world. But first, making a difference inside here, inside our hearts, inside our homes, with our children, with our animals, with our partners, with our friends, with our families. And of course, you can watch yesterday's video I think it was yesterday. I think it was video 3, which talked about, or it might have been video 2. But anyway, the one about speaking your truth. And of course, you get to discern who you share with and who you allow yourself to get vulnerable with, and you just take steps and grow. So, yeah, so those are my deep thoughts tonight about shifting patterns by doing something different, bringing in some more fun, and connecting with people that you feel that you can trust, and building more trust in yourself, and kind of taking an inventory of where in your life can you take a little more responsibility, that without blame, right? Just kind of saying, okay, like, I played a part in this and this and this and this. I played a part in everything. And sometimes that might mean having a good cry after, or having a nice cup of tea and just breathing, or just laying down on your back and just letting it come in. This work isn't always easy, but coming out the other side is so worth it, with more power and more love in your heart and more freedom. So that's where I'm at right now in my process. This is day 4 of my 30 lives in 30 days. And those of you that are new, I see you, Randy and Kim and Corey, and thank you for being here. This was a download that I had. Just show up 30 days online, and so that's what I'm doing. I'm listening to my intuition and sharing things that I've learned, and sharing things that I have gone through and am going through and learning, and just in a space of sharing for service. So sending all of you some love and light, and please do share in the comments anything that was a golden nugget for you tonight, or if you have requests that you'd like me to speak about. All right, sending so much love. Have a beautiful evening. Namaste.